All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here presenting on this particular topic. Easy language is one of those things that some people are afraid of, but you're going to see in this class how easy language is going to open up a lot of doors inside of the TradeStation platform in the area of customizing studies and plotting your ideas on a TradeStation chart, which I think it's very valuable. For those that don't know me, my name is Jesus Nava. I'm in the client training and education department here at TradeStation. And our main goal is to make it as easy as possible for you to use the TradeStation technology. And this is an example of that class. Before we get started on the easy language topic, let's go through some disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, especially if you're trading options or futures which carry a higher degree of risk. If you look at past historical performance, this is no indication or guarantee of future results. And if anybody would like to read more about these disclosures, they are all posted on the TradeStation website, and you're welcome to go there and read on. All right. So welcome, everyone. Let me switch over here to my next slide. And before I do that, I am watching the Zoom chat. So if you have any questions that are related to the topic that we're presenting on, you're welcome to submit your comments right there in the chat. One thing that we do ask everyone to do is to set your chat windows to all panelists and attendees. There's a little drop down right there on the chat that allows your comments to be seen by everyone. And that way, if you ask a question, everyone can just follow along, and it'll make it a more interactive class. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time this afternoon to learn a little bit about TradeStation. And as I said at the very beginning, specifically about this topic, which is fascinating. And we'll get to that in just a moment. This is an introductory class. So if you haven't seen any easy language, this is the perfect class for you, because we're going to take you step by step from the very basics on how to create easy language on TradeStation. So what is it that we're going to learn today? The first thing is that we're going to learn what easy language is. So we're going to talk about a definition. I'm going to introduce the development environment to you. It's a place where we have to go to in order to tell TradeStation what is it that we want to see on the chart. We're going to take a look at the easy language dictionary. And in the process of doing all this, we're going to create an indicator. We're going to create a show me, and we're also going to create a strategy. These are all types of easy language documents that you can create. Towards the end of the presentation, we're going to use an indicator and radar screen, and you're going to see the power and the potential of the TradeStation platform when you mix it with some custom easy language. All right. This class is being recorded, so everyone here will have an opportunity to play the video later. It's going to be posted to YouTube. So give us a day or two before we post that video to YouTube. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First things first, what is easy language? As the definition here says, easy language is a combination of words, operators, and punctuation used to create rules or instructions based on market data, which TradeStation follows to perform one or more analytical tasks. Well, this is definitely a mouthful. But in summary, yes, easy language does require the use of certain words, the use of certain punctuation, just like any other language. When you use those rules and you use those words and you build rules, those rules are mixed with market data so that TradeStation can perform an analytical task. That task can be maybe drawing a line on a chart analysis window. Maybe the task is to mark individual candlesticks that meet certain criteria. Maybe the task is to generate an order and get executed on a particular number of shares. That could be some of the actions that easy language can take. But what are the benefits of learning easy language? Why should you invest time in learning easy language? Well, first, you're able to translate your trading ideas into analysis techniques and strategies in easy language. Yeah, think about that. You may have an idea or something you want to put into a testing environment, a trading idea that you've been wanting to test all the time, and all of a sudden you get the ability to tell easy language those ideas, and you can see how those ideas play out using historical data. I think that is fabulous. You can also edit and modify the easy language of built-in analysis techniques and strategies. Now, this part right here, I do it all the time. You find a study inside of TradeStation, you think that the strategy needs something else, maybe an additional calculation. Maybe you want to add a moving average. Maybe you want to add a specific line. All those things can be added and modified using easy language. So learning a little bit can give you that extra edge of being able to see a study and say, I would like this study to do something else, and be able to do that by changing the code. You're also able to read and understand and learn from what others have written. There's a lot of indicators being shared inside of the community, inside of TradeStation, and you will have the ability of taking somebody else's code, open it up in your own TradeStation, and see how it's written and learn from that. And last, you'll be able to understand how analysis techniques and strategies are calculated. This is an added benefit because you fully understand the mechanics. You really understand what's going on behind the scenes in the TradeStation technology and what's making those studies and indicators work. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the data that's being used in easy language. One of the things you do in easy language is reference data that is provided by TradeStation. And whether you're using a candlestick or an open, high, low, close bar, as you see them right here on the screen, you have access to the open, high, low, close, the time and the date. So these are available on every single bar. You also have data on volume, the number of shares, the number of ticks, which is the number of trades. You have options related data, fundamental data, and open interest. Now, just think about this in a moment, because all the data that's here is managed by TradeStation. All you need to do is worry about referencing the data in easy language. But you can reference any of these data points within the easy language and do calculations with that data, which is amazing. Now, some of the data points that are here are only available depending on the asset class that you pull up. For example, if you're pulling up a stock on a chart analysis, yeah, you may have fundamental data. But if you change the symbol to a futures, then fundamental data does not apply. The same goes for open interest. So some of these items are going to be available, but depending on the symbol that you're pulling up on the chart. As I said earlier, all the data is managed and maintained by TradeStation. So analysis techniques and strategies are going to start calculating on the very first bar of the chart, going forward until it reaches the most current bar. Once the easy language calculates on all the historical data, on the current bar, it calculates tick by tick. We're going to get started or start with an indicator. The indicator we're going to create is going to plot a line representing the real body of each candle. And the value will oscillate between positive and negative values. If you're familiar with candlesticks, you know that the real body, the body of the candle, is the relationship between the open and the close. So in a candle like the one that is right here in the slide, the real body is the difference between the open and the close. Everybody sees that the open is 16 and the close is 12 because it's a red candle, it's a down candle. But the real body, of course, is 4 points. The difference between 16 and 12 is 4 points. But since this is a down candle, meaning that it closed lower than it's open, I want the real body to be expressed as a -4. So the formula that I want is close minus the open, so that if it's a down candle, I get a negative number. And if it's an up candle, I get a positive number. Some things to think about when we write in easy language. So let's talk about some easy language elements before I even go to the editor and start creating our code. Easy language is not case sensitive. So you're going to see that in my code, I'm going to be using lowercase letters with uppercase and a combination of both. It doesn't really matter. Also, line returns, line spacing, paragraph indents are for readability only. They do not affect the easy language instructions. Easy language requires the proper use of punctuation. This is something that you're going to learn. If it's the wrong punctuation, it's going to throw off the easy language. And as as you write more easy language, this will become more natural to you. You know which punctuation is needed where. And one or more expressions are put together to form a statement, and every statement ends with a semicolon. So that's the very first punctuation rule that we talk about in this class. Every statement ends with a semicolon. That's what easy language is expecting every time that you reach the end of a sentence or a statement. Different than, for example, when you're writing English, you know that the end of a statement is a period. In easy language, that period is actually a semicolon. That tells easy language that you've reached the end of the expression. Let's go ahead and create our indicator, which we talked about first, that will measure the real body. Let me switch over here to my TradeStation platform, and let's set up the chart that we're going to use in today's class. I'm going to go here to Apps, click on Chart Analysis. Okay, let's bring up a daily chart. All right, this is the daily chart of Boeing. I'm going to disable account orders and positions. Okay, so we have a candlestick chart. Very cool. Let me open up the chart so we can see more of the details. Okay, so these are candles going up and candles going down. Let me change the style of this candlestick to just a candle, which is a simpler form of a candlestick. So we see the up candles are green and the down candles are red. We can clearly see the real body. The real body is the thick part of that candle, the relationship between the open and the close. And we're going to create an indicator that measures the difference between the open and the close. To do that, I'm going to open up the Easy Language Development environment. So I'm going to go here to Apps and click on Easy Language. And we're going to get started with our first indicator. When you open up the development environment, it looks like any Word editor. I have to go here to the File menu, go to New, and I do have to be careful as to which type of study I need to create. In this example, I'm creating an indicator. An indicator is similar to what you would see with an RSI or a stochastic, something that shows up at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to come here and go to the File, New, and select Indicator. You can see that we have all types of easy language documents here. As soon as you select Indicator, of course, it's going to prompt you to give this indicator a name. I'm going to give this indicator a custom name, and I'm going to call it Real Body. I'm going to use a prefix of 2 exclamation marks. The exclamation mark is a special character that gets sorted to the top. And a lot of times when you create custom code, you want to be able to differentiate what you create as custom from the rest of indicators that are built into TradeStation. So always use a prefix, whatever it is. If it's a special character, if you want to use your initials, something that sets your custom studies apart from the list. I'm going to do a couple more changes here. I don't want a template. I'm going to say none. And these checkboxes are okay, totally fine for this indicator that I'm going to be creating. I'm going to click OK. I notice that it opens up the editor for me. The tab is named Real Body, and we're going to start our calculation. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our first indicator. One of the first things I do is I usually start with the formula that I want to plot. If you remember my PowerPoint slide that talked about real body, we said that the formula that we wanted to use was close minus the open. I want you guys to take a look at what's going on here in my code, and hopefully the size of the font here is big enough. Let me make the font bigger so that it's easier to see. I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to click on Options. And let me make my font a 24 so that it jumps at, so it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's the formula that I want to use. Close minus the open. I'm going to get negative numbers on down candles and positive numbers on up candles. Now, the way that TradeStation works is that in order for you to plot that inside of a chart analysis, you need to use what's called a plot statement. And I'm going to use the word plot for that. And in this particular case is plot number 1. You probably have seen indicators in TradeStation that have multiple lines. Like, for example, when you add the RSI, it has 3 lines. It has the RSI calculation, it has the overbought level, and it has the oversold level. Those are 3 different plots. And inside of the easy language code, you have to number them. And you can have up to 99 different plots. So this is my plot number one, and I'm plotting the close minus the open. I have to open up the parentheses. And then right here at the very end, I close the parentheses and I add a semicolon. You're probably not going to believe this yet, but this is our first indicator. It's probably missing a lot of the polishing and a lot of the cleaning up and stuff. But as it is right now, is an indicator that's going to plot something. What is it going to plot? It's going to plot the mathematical formula of close minus the open on every bar. Remember that we said that at the very beginning of inserting a study, it calculates on every single bar from the beginning all the way forward. So let me go ahead and verify this study. One of the very important steps in creating an indicator is verifying. You have to make sure that what you wrote has no errors and the development environment is able to understand what you're saying. What Easy Language, the verification process, is going to do is making sure that you have the parentheses that are matching, that you have semicolons where they should be, and it's a very important process. So how do you verify this? I'm just going to right-click and verify. I can also click on the green check mark right here at the top. I could use the F3 function key. There's multiple ways for you to verify a document. And as soon as I verify, you can see at the very bottom, it says 0 errors and 0 warnings. And you can see that there's 2 indications at the very bottom over here where my cursor is that says saved and verified. And that's it. You just created your first indicator. How does it look on TradeStation though? Let me go here to my TradeStation platform. I'm going to go here to studies, add study. And remember that I named my indicator with 2 exclamation marks at the very beginning. So that should probably be sorted all the way to the top. And here it is, exclamation, exclamation, real body. So keep in mind that exclamation sorts to the top. If you find that easy on your side to find your custom indicators, you can always use an exclamation mark to create your studies. I'm going to click OK and OK. And that's my study right there at the bottom. It may not have the thickness. It may not have the color. It may not have the style and the polishing that I want, but notice how I was able to create my very first indicator that takes the close minus the open and it plots that result on every single bar. Is it accurate though? Well, let's take a look at the current value here. You see it right here at the bottom right, the difference right now is $3.36. Is that the difference between between the close and the open? The open is 256 and the close is 252. So we're talking about $3 and change, and that's exactly the calculation that we see right there on the right-hand side. Take a look, though, that the indicator is calculating tick by tick. That's a value that's being calculated in real time. Not only does it calculate, on every single historical bar, but it also calculates in real time. Let's go ahead and modify this even more. I'm going to introduce some additional concepts. We're going to continue to polish this idea and show you some other things you can do to your code. I'm going to go here to my Easy Language. And the way it is on my TradeStation, if I look at this indicator right here at the bottom, it's very noisy, very staticky. It looks like an EKG, right? So maybe what I need here is a way of smooth this calculation. And we do that in the form of an average. Maybe we take the difference in the real body or the values of those real bodies because we have negative and we have positives, and we average them together and see if we can get to a more interesting idea. So let me come over here to my development environment, and I'm going to point to the dictionary that's over here on the right-hand side, because the dictionary is going to provide you all the reserved words and user functions that you can pull up into your code. I'm going to open up the Easy Language main category and then go to the very bottom, user functions. It gives you a list of over 400 different functions that are already built into the dictionary and you can use right here inside your code. So what I do is usually look for a calculation that I need, for example, average. Everybody sees the word average here. Average is a function that's already built in. I don't have to sit here and tell it to add every single item and then divide it by the total, because that is built in into a function. All you need to do is look at the function and look at the example right here on how it is used. And you can see that the average function needs two parameters. Right here, it tells you that it needs two parameters. It needs the price and the length. Two things that the average function needs is, what is it? What is the value that I'm trying to average? And for how many bars? So that's what I'm going to do here in this code. I'm going to create an average of that calculation. How do I do that? Very, very easily. I'm going to do another plot, plot 2. And I'm going to open up the parentheses and I'm going to type in the word average. Take a look at the word. It comes up in a different color because it recognizes it. It knows that it's a function. And when you type up a function, it's going to expect the two parameters that you're going to be using in the mathematical formula. So I'm going to open up the parentheses again to provide the parameters to the average. And the value that I'm averaging is close minus the open. Do you see that? I'm just putting close minus open inside the average function, and I'm going to tell it to average for 30 bars. Then close the parentheses and add a semicolon. I want you to make sure that you follow me, because this is very cool that you can bring in a function and do additional calculations like this. I'm taking the raw calculation of close minus the open and putting close minus open inside of the average function. And I'm telling it, take 30 candles and create an average of that. And this is going to be my plot number 2. Let me verify this. Verification is successful. And when I come back here to the code, this is what it looks like. You know, I really don't like the fact that my average looks very flat. Maybe I don't need the raw calculation. And it looks very flat because we have these spikes in the red line. It goes, sometimes up to $15 on the positive side, negative 15. So it's kind of messing up the scale of my indicator. So maybe I don't need to plot the raw math. So let me go back here to my code. And what I can do is either delete the whole line at the top, or maybe just leave it there, but add a double semicolon at the very front. See, adding a double semicolon, what it does, it ignores the whole line. You see how the whole line turned green? That's a quick way for you to test different scenarios and see, without deleting the code, just comment things out so that they don't play into the easy language. They're just being ignored. Let me go ahead and verify this. And let me go back to my platform. And here's what my indicator looks like. Not the color that I was that I would choose, because the dark blue over black doesn't look very well, but we can change that later. But you can see how now that we removed the raw calculation that had spikes on the $15, now we see more of a line here. Okay. What I'm going to do here, since the average, it's going to turn positive and negative depending on where it is. I'm going to come back here to my easy language. And let me show you the easiest way for you to add a horizontal line. I'm going to do plot 3, and inside parentheses, I'm just going to add a 0. And that's the quickest way for you to add a level to your easy language. If you need a reference line, you can just plot the number that you want to draw the line at. Let me verify this. And if you want to choose the colors before it goes on the chart, you do that in the properties. I'm going to right click here and go to properties. And in the chart style, I can change the thickness. And in the chart color, I can change the colors. I'm going to use this cyan. Let me verify that one more time. And let me go to my TradeStation. The colors and the style are only applied when you insert the study a second time. So I'm going to add real body one more time. And here we go. So interesting indicator. It's averaging the real body calculation. Now we see some crossovers. Now we see something interesting, because now it's somewhat following the price activity up here as the market's crossing from positive to negative and negative to positive. What we're going to do is we're going to create some alert criteria around this concept so that when it crosses, it generates the alert. Does everybody see on the current bar how my indicator is crossing below 0? How do you create an alert so that if it happens in real time, I get alerted? Well, all you need to do is come here to the code and do something very simple. You're going to say if, in this case, I'm going to use this whole expression because that's my average, is greater, or it crosses, let's see, because in my PowerPoint slide, my next example was going to be using easy language functions. That's the one we just did. We modified the real body indicator to plot a line representing the average of the real body over a user specified number of bars. And we introduced the easy language dictionary. The next slide is creating alerts. How do we create alerts? We were going to modify the average real body indicator to generate an alert every time the average crosses the 0 line. Now, sometimes if you don't want to carry this whole calculation right here, it could help. Let me remove this line 1 to create variables. Variables are going to help you contain different calculation, and I can call this, real body AVG, so that when you use real body, you can say that real body equals this formula right here. And then instead of using this whole formula in here, all you need to do is use this word, plot to real body. Does that make sense? So variables are like containers, and they contain a particular mathematical or string value, whatever you declare the variable to do. In this case, I want real body AVG. I just missed the AVG here. AVG to hold the average of the close minus the open for a period of 30 bars. That's going to be stored in this word, and that's why I'm able to just plot the real body AVG. And in my alert criteria, it simplifies it because now I can just reference the real body AVG. If it crosses over 0, then alert. And if, I'll just copy this so I can do the other side, and I'll paste it. Crosses under 0, then alert. Very simple code. All I'm doing is comparing the calculated value. If it crosses over 0, then alert. If it crosses under 0, then alert. The word alert is all you need in easy language in order for it to trigger the alert. Let me verify this. And let me come back here to my TradeStation. You see the indicator right in there? We just put in alert criteria. Now, in order for you to trigger the alert, you have to turn on the alert on the indicator. And I know many of you already know how to do this. So let me go ahead and double click on the indicator, go to the alerts, and enable the alert. I'm going to say alert once per bar, and then click OK. All right, let's see if we get an alert. There we go. Right here, you see? This yellow box right here is giving me a real body alert. I don't have a custom message or anything like that. It's not a fancy alert, but I was able to get that alert triggered because my indicator is crossing on the current bar. So see how easy that was? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some other exercises here that I have for you. We're going to create a show me, because one of the things that happens when you create an alert, as we just did, is that it only happens in real time. You saw that for Boeing on a daily chart, the line was crossing, and that's why we got the alert. But if you wanted to mark historical alerts, we use a show me for that. A show me is a type of study in TradeStation that is going to mark the bar that meets certain criteria. We're going to use that. We're going to use the real body crossover as the criteria for our show me, and this is going to be a very interesting exercise. Let me go here to my code because I want to copy this code. Similar code. I'm just using the same idea, but turning it into a show me. I'm going to go to File, New, and this time I'm going to create a show me. So this will be exclamation. So exclamation, exclamation, real body, cross. So the way that the show me works is that it's only going to plot if the real body average crosses. So yes, I need the calculation over here, but the plot statements are going to change. So let me remove the plot statements. So this stays the same. I'm calculating real body. If real body average crosses over 0, then begin. This is where I tell the show me what to do if it crosses over 0. Then I can say plot 1. I'm going to plot on the close, and that's it. And I can also alert. And then whenever you have a begin, you must provide an end. So this takes care of both scenarios of generating the alert and also giving you a show me historically. Maybe I should have simplified the idea, but why not, cover our bases on both scenarios. So this other side, let's go ahead and do the same thing. So I'm going to do, if it crosses under 0, then begin. Plot 2, I'm also going to plot on the close. And I'm also going to alert and then provide an end at the very end. Let me verify. I'm going to go to properties so I can control the colors of those two plots. Let me go to chart color. Plot 1, which is bullish, I'm going to make cyan. And plot 2, which is bearish, I'm going to make magenta. And the style, I'm going to make the dots a little bit bigger so that you can see them on the chart. Once I change the properties, I verify one more time. Now let's go back to my trade station. What I'm trying to make my indicator do is align the dots with the crossovers of this indicator, and I'm just having some difficulty. See right here on the real-time bar, we have a down bar, and of course, we have a magenta dot because we are crossing below, but we don't have that here. Okay, let me not stress about this. I know that something is incorrect here, and it's not jumping at me. What I'm going to do, since we're running out of time, let me show you how to turn this into a strategy. Because a lot of times when you look at something that is working on your chart and you say, well, what would happen if I generate entries and exits based on these crossovers? What type of performance would I get if I were to buy or sell short orders or shares of this particular symbol? Well, a strategy is created in a very similar fashion. Let me go back here to File, New, and let's go here to Strategies instead. And this will be exclamation, exclamation, real body cross. Let's use the real body show me right here and paste it here because I'm going to use similar syntax. But instead of plotting, what I'm going to do is buy or sell. So if there's a crossover, I'm going to buy next bar at market. Notice how easy this is. All right. And the other condition, if it crosses under 0, then sell short next bar at market. I just want to see what happens when I do this. Let me verify this. Now, when I go back to TradeStation and I put that strategy in, I'm going to add the strategy. Again, it's going to be to the top because I called it exclamation, exclamation. This one right here. And just click OK. So let's see. We get a blue dot, long entry. Red dot, short entry. Right here, we got some other entries that, you see, my strategy is following my indicator, but it's not following the show me, which is interesting. So over here, you see how it crossed over to the top. We got a long entry, then it crossed below, a short entry, and then it crossed to the top here. We got a long entry. So the show me is the one that's giving us trouble. The show me is this one right here. Okay. No problem. We'll figure it out later. So let me go ahead and remove the show me so that it's not distracting. And what is happening here in the strategy is that every time that that line crosses to the upside, we get a long trade. And every time that we get a crossover to the downside, we get another trade. And we can see how the strategy worked historically on a daily chart. This is Boeing. Once you have a strategy in place, you can very quickly go to data and click on the strategy performance report and pull up what's a performance evaluation on this particular strategy. And as you can see, this strategy sucks really bad. You can see that in a period of 2 years, my strategy lost about $17,000 based on this idea. I should have probably picked a better symbol to show in this presentation, but I didn't get a chance to look for a symbol. But the idea is, this is the idea. This is what matters the most. Not that we got a losing strategy. No, that's not important. It is important if you're going to play it, with real money. What matters the most here is that you get an idea, you write it in easy language, and then you have TradeStation follow those rules to the T. This is exactly what's happening here. The rules don't work, but TradeStation is doing exactly what I told it to do. That's what matters. Now it's just a matter of making my strategy work. Maybe I start introducing other concepts. I start refining it somehow. But this is where the power of TradeStation is. You can do all sorts of things similar to this. Okay. Dennis is the one that actually saw what the problem was. I used a show me that I had created maybe a long time ago. So studies, add studies, show me. I do have one that has 2 exclamation marks. I was choosing the wrong one. Oh, there we go. Now we have the show me dots that match. Thank you so much, Dennis, for that. I was trying to break my head here in the middle of the presentation because this is simple code. It should work. And I was just selecting the wrong one when I added it. Thank you so much. Okay. Can you use 5-minute candles? For sure. Remember that the strategy and the indicators do not or are not tied to a specific interval. You can choose any time frame that you want. Okay. Yes, let's go ahead and go to the code again. This is my strategy. No, this is the show me. The strategy is right here. The strategy is very simple. You're calculating the real body average, and then you're using the real body average to generate the order actions. So if it crosses over, I'm going to buy next bar at market. If it's under, sell short next bar at market. So this is like a reversal strategy. Somebody, I think, pointed to that. You're always in the market. You're either long or short, and it's not a complete strategy at all. And you can tell by the performance, it's not a very good strategy. But it was an idea, and I was able to put it right here on paper, and I was able to put it on the chart. Let's go ahead and do something really cool, which is turning this idea into a scan. So we already created the strategy. I showed everyone how to do that. So you have the slide that explains what the strategy is doing. What I'm going to do now is use easy language in Radar Screen, which is really powerful. So let me show you what it's capable of doing. We're going to insert custom analysis techniques into a Radar Screen window and monitor hundreds of symbols simultaneously for real-time alerts. What does that mean? Well, let me go here to my TradeStation. Let me open up another workspace, and I'm going to create a Radar Screen application. In my Radar Screen, I'm going to add all the S&P 500. So these are 500 symbols of the the S&P 500. And let me remove some symbols here because I want to resize my Radar Screen so that I can put a chart to the right of it. So chart analysis. And rather than creating a chart from scratch, let me go to my original workspace. I'm going to right click here, copy the window, then go to my second workspace, right click, and paste the window. That way, the chart will carry over the strategy, the indicator, and everything else that I created on it. So keep in mind that you can always copy and paste window. And I'm going to link the two windows together. And that way I can click on any symbol here, like for example, Apple, and this will recalculate using Apple. You can pull up, the strategy performance report and see how the strategy works on Apple. And you can see that it's not such a bad idea for Apple. In a couple of years, this strategy generated about $1,000 historically. Of course, as I said at the very beginning during my disclosures, looking at what happened historically is no guarantee that it'll continue to do that going forward. But by having this kind of set up right here, I can click on any symbol here. Let's say that I want to click on applied materials down here. The strategy recalculates. I can refresh this. In fact, let me pull it up again. And now this is the performance report, but on applied materials. So you can see that very quickly you can change the symbol and have it update for you. Well, what I'm looking for, I got sidetracked here for a moment. What I'm looking for is a way to scan the S&P 500 and tell me which ones are crossing right now. That's something that Radar Screen can do. I'm going to add the same indicator that I created, which is exclamation, exclamation, real body. Okay. That, of course, is going to give us two plots. This is based on the two plots that we created. If you think about this, plot number 2, we started with plot number 2 because remember we removed plot number 1. And plot number 3 is all zeros. I don't need plot 3. So I'm going to right click here, go to studies, show hide plots, and I'm going to uncheck plot 3. I only need plot 2. And plot 2, there's one more thing that I need to do to this Radar Screen study. I need to go to and edit the study because I need more historical data. This only downloads the bare minimum. And sometimes you have to give your Radar Screen indicators a little bit of a push. So it loads additional data for the calculation. I'm going to ask it to load 100 more days of historical data or additional bars. If you're in a daily bar, it's 100 days. If you're in a 5-minute, it's 100 of those 5-minute days. 5-minute bars. Right here on the chart, I'm not sure if you noticed, I'm looking at a daily chart. And right here on the Radar Screen, I have a 5-minute interval. Yes, for some reason, I'm out of it right now in this presentation. I think the whole show me thing just threw me off guard. But here I need to select all the symbols and make them match my daily time frame. There we go. Now the numbers look a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my Radar Screen to tell me which symbols are crossing right now. And I do that by turning on the alert. The same alert that I configured on the crossovers, I can just turn it on here. Enable the alert. I'm going to alert continuously, and I'm not going to be using any of the messaging like the pop-ups and the sounds, just the visual. And I click OK. And this will give me an alert for symbols that are crossing. If you see the red markers, those are the ones that I'm looking for. For example, ABC is crossing right now as we speak. The next one down the list is AMAT, crossing as we speak. On the daily bar, if I keep on scrolling down in Radar Screen, you have another one, BA, Boeing, which is the symbol we started off with, is giving us a crossover. In fact, once I turn on the alert here on this indicator, I can use the filter bar right here at the top and say, I want to filter by the real body alert. True. So out of the 500 symbols, we have 40 that are crossing right now as we speak on the current bar. Let's see if we recognize one of these symbols. PG, Procter & Gamble, crossing right now. Notice that it was negative for a few days, and all of a sudden it's turning positive. And that is something that Radar Screen can do for you. You can scan hundreds of symbols in real time and have the tool tell you which symbols are meeting criteria at any given point. The next step, if you're interested in learning Easy Language, is to go to youcantrade.com. This is our educational platform. The TradeStation Masterclass and the TradeStation Getting Started are two channels that are hosted by TradeStation. If you haven't had a chance to visit us there, please do. The Getting Started with TradeStation channel is completely free. And the Masterclass is a premium channel where we have Easy Language courses, we have strategy trading concepts, and we talk about technical analysis. So there's a lot of things going on inside of the Masterclass, and I want to take this opportunity to invite everyone to join us there. All right, but other than that, this is the presentation that I had for everyone. I apologize for some of the glitches that we had in the code. So thank you guys for your participation and your comments right here in the chat. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful afternoon. I'll see you guys in my next session. Goodbye and good luck in your trading.